If you're leaving the Royal Navy, Army or Royal Air Force in the next year or two, but you're already thinking about your next career, this video is for you. It's actually a question I'm asked quite often here. Someone will ring me up and say, Adrian, I've still got 18 months, maybe 2 years left to serve. I'm not looking for a job yet, but what should I be doing now? I actually really enjoy those conversations because if you're thinking about your civvy career that far in advance, you're giving yourself something incredibly valuable, and that's time. You're probably too early to start applying for jobs, but you're definitely not too early to start preparing for them. So based on more than 20 years working in ex-military recruitment, here are 7 things I'd be thinking about right now. 1. Start thinking about where you want to go. The first one sounds obvious, but start thinking about what you actually want to do. And I don't mean you need to have your entire civvy career mapped out 2 years before you leave. You don't, but start exploring what industries interest you. What civvy jobs could your military experience potentially lead into? If you're an engineer, for example, there are potentially dozens of different career paths available to you. Don't assume that the obvious civvy equivalent of what you've been doing in uniform is necessarily where you should end up. Speak to people, research jobs, look at vacancies, see what catches your attention. You've got time on your side, so use it to explore. 2. Don't collect qualifications for the sake of it. This is probably one of the biggest pieces of advice I'd give to you. You'll potentially have access to resettlement funding and ELCAS credits, and naturally you'll want to make good use of them. But don't simply think, I've got money available, so what course can I spend it on? Turn that question around. Ask, what career am I interested in and what qualifications will actually help me get there? There's a big difference. And please don't just take the training provider's word for it. Speak to people who already work in that industry. Use LinkedIn. Speak to veterans who've made that same transition. You could even ring a few potential employers and ask them, if you are recruiting someone for this position, which qualifications would you actually value? That's real world information. I'd much rather see someone use their funding on one qualification that employers genuinely value than 3 or 4 courses that look good on paper but don't improve their employability. 3. Get serious about LinkedIn. If you've got 12 months, 18 months or 2 years before leaving, you've got a fantastic opportunity to build your LinkedIn presence gradually. Don't wait until you're 3 months from discharge and suddenly think, oh, I'd better set up LinkedIn. Get your profile looking professional now. Make sure your photograph is appropriate. Make sure your headline tells people something about you. Start translating some of your military experience into language civvy employers understand. And then start building your network. Connect with people who work in industries you're considering. Follow companies you might eventually want to work for. Connect with people who have previously served in the military and are now doing jobs that interest you. Join relevant groups. Engage with people's content. You don't have to start posting every day. You're simply starting to become visible. If you do that consistently for 2 years, imagine the network you could have by the time you actually start looking for employment. 4. Start learning the civvy job market. This is something I'd encourage you to do even though you're nowhere near applying. Start looking at vacancies, not because you're going to apply for them. You're doing research. Go onto job boards and search for positions you think might interest you. What salaries are employers offering? What qualifications keep appearing? What experience do they ask for? Where are the jobs located? Is there lots of travel? Are they working shifts? Do they provide a company vehicle? You gradually start understanding what employers are actually looking for. And that information can influence what you do during the remaining time in the military. 5. Start recording your achievements. This is something people often leave, in my opinion, far too late. Imagine you've served for 15 or 20 years and 6 weeks before leaving, somebody says, right, tell me about your achievements because we need to write your CV. You're trying to remember things that happened way back, maybe 10 years ago. Start keeping a record now. Courses you've completed, projects you've been involved with, teams you've managed, equipment you've maintained, anything that demonstrates what you've actually achieved. You don't necessarily need your finished CV 2 years before leaving, but when the time comes to write it, you'll have the raw material sitting there waiting for you. 6. Think about where you're going to live. This can have a massive impact on your career options. If you already know where you're going to live, for example in Newcastle, Portsmouth, Plymouth or Manchester, start researching that local employment market. Which companies operate there? What industries are strong in that region? What engineering businesses are within commuting distance? Follow them on LinkedIn. Look at their career pages occasionally. You can start building a picture of your local market long before you actually need a job. And if you haven't decided where you're going to live yet, understanding the employment opportunities in different areas might even help you make that decision. 7. Talk to people who've already done it. Finally, probably one of the most valuable things you can do is to speak to people who are once exactly where you are now. If you're an RAF engineer considering becoming a field service engineer, find former RAF engineers who are now field service engineers. If you're leaving the REME and considering engineering management, find people who've already made that transition. Ask them what surprised them, ask them what they wished they'd already known, ask which qualifications helped them get the job, ask which qualifications didn't, ask what their first civvy job was like. Most veterans I encountered are incredibly willing to help someone coming behind them. You've got access to thousands of years of combined transition experience through platforms like LinkedIn. Use it. So if you've got 12 months, 18 months or even 2 years before leaving the armed forces, my advice would be don't panic about finding a job. Prepare yourself to find the right job. Use the time you've got, explore your options, research the market, build your network, choose your training carefully and start translating everything you've achieved during your military career into something civvy employers will understand and value. You don't need to have all the answers today, but every sensible decision you make now can put you in a stronger position when that final day in uniform eventually arrives. And when you do get closer to your exit date, that's when organisations like us can really start helping you with the job search itself. Until then, use the time wisely. Your transition doesn't start on the day you leave. It starts with the preparation you do before it.